super happy to have Jenia from the SKALE team as our guest on today's podcast. One of the things that's really impressed me with Jenia is we've been working with the SKALE team for about a year in a professional capacity. But as I've gotten to know the team and the faces behind the SKALE project, what really impressed me is how passionate they are about this space and the ecosystem and really educating the next generation of builders. And I think that story needs to be captured on video and requires broader distribution. So this session is not about crunching data. It's not about tools and tactics or strategy, or it's not about any of those things. It's about how one person is able to fight for limelight, if you want to put it under that, and really create amazing data analysis. And she's just going to share her story. So Genia, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we can take it away from there.
Yeah, that's great. Happy to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. Hi, Ganesh. Thanks so much for inviting me. And so my story, I run marketing for SKALE Network, guys, for SKALE Labs. Bringing SKALE Network to every country in the world, ensuring that we have increasing numbers of validators, ensuring that we have growing community, both on the token supporter side and on the developer side. So SKALE has an important mission, which is to make Ethereum much faster, keep it decentralized, and significantly reduce the costs. And SKALE has a brilliant architecture, which is multi-chain architecture. And SKALE has been one of the very first projects to start building using that approach. So along this, back in 2017, when Polkadot just started developing, just started talking about parachains. So SKALE started developing its multi-chain architecture around the same time. And right now we are in 2021, and the multi-chain architecture is proving its infinite value. So it allows to bring in a lot of functionality, allows for the entire dev community using SKALE to maintain all connections to the entire Ethereum ecosystem while gaining like orders of magnitude and speed, reducing costs as well, orders of magnitude. So it's a very significant project. And the way we started working with Ganesh was that back in October, when SKALE was launching the mainnet, and back in October when SKALE was launching token, so we in SKALE marketing, we really wanted to tell the SKALE token distribution story and node and decentralization story in terms of how many validators, how many nodes the network is running on. We wanted to tell that story in a visual way, as in nothing is as powerful as a good chart. So that's how and Ganesh has done a lot of integrations, has done about Covalent, brought a lot of value to SKALE. But that was the specific goal of that engagement. And that's kind of what we wanted to share, talk about, and also show some of the interesting tools that we've used to do the analysis, as it's like not many people in crypto actually use those tools to look at the data. Right? So how should we go? Let me give you maybe a little bit of my own background.
Yeah.
And into the data. How should we go?
Absolutely. So I want to capture one moment here. This was the wow, the mind explosion moment in my mind, and I want you to build the sequence of steps that got to there. So basically, the way Covalent works is we've indexed the entire blockchain. So it's not just the SKALE contracts; it's every single contract on the Ethereum blockchain. So we have this database with hundreds of billions of rows of data and terabytes of information. And so when Jenia and her team came to us and asked for a specific data set, we were just able to export that on our site. And I sent her this CSV. And then I said, most people ask me for a data export. I said, and it's nothing really happens from this because it's actually very hard. But before I could even explain what the data was, Jenia shared a chart with me. And that was within 5 minutes. And that blew my mind. I was like, how is someone able to understand the data, and not just understand data, but is able to tell a meaningful story? So I want to capture that moment there, that moment that happened there. And I think it's a special moment. And so I want to unpack how we got there. But this didn't just start that 5 or 10 minutes or that year or that 2 years. There's been a long road to that moment. So that is what I think we should focus on in this particular session. And then in part 2, we can go into the tactics and the tools.
That works. So first of all, let me show everyone what was the chart that I shared 5 minutes after Ganesh sent me the data set. So again, first time ever, my team and myself look at the data set. I have one person who is good at working with the data, which is myself. It takes very little time, and we get a data like blockchain derived data set, which we see for the first time. It literally takes very little to work with it in Tableau and start building some of the first views and start rendering it and start building the first understanding of what's the best way of telling scale decentralization story, explain how many validators around the world support the network, explain how many nodes that network is running on, and explain how many delegators we have around the world. So I'll stop sharing. So this is what Ganesh saw, and this is what he looks like he liked it.
No, I want to point out something here, right? This is a missed, it's a point of note that even that color scheme there is actually the scale color scheme. It's not the default Tableau color palette. So I think that is the attention to detail that Jenia has shown upon this chart, and it shows. I think that that news article that went out was actually a massive hit. Of course, 4,000 delegators right out of the gate is also a massive success story. So I just want to point that out, but please continue, Jenia.
Yeah, very good. So the tool that allowed that to happen very fast. So this is a good chart. It does create a compelling visual story. It does work with a real data set. And the tool that allowed to build it is called Tableau. Every person who loves data, I think loves data not just for the sake of numbers, even though they're very cool. Everybody who loves data loves the data because it allows to understand reality better. With all respect to traditional data analytics tools, including Microsoft Excel, that many people are using to build the charts, it's hard to build charts in Excel. It's like really hard to build charts or play with ways of visualizing the data in any tool other than Tableau that I've ever ran into. So what I will give you a very short rundown on Tableau, and then I will tell my story and like how I got into it. But what Tableau allows you to do, it allows you to render massive data sets, visualize massive data sets, and change, overlay various fields, change accesses, use almost any field for the access, use almost any field for a descriptor, use almost any field for a highlight, include within Tableau calculations. So it lets you understand the data, and then it also lets you work with the data the way that's better for the data. It does not dictate the way you should do the analysis. It gives you infinite freedom. So Tableau is fantastic. I think not many people in our favorite industry use it. And it's very easy to teach yourself Tableau. So that's like, this is where my story comes in. And Ganesh also happened to like it. So with my story and Tableau and that in general. So I was like, there is a very, very short background on myself. I've never seen myself as capable of doing math till when I became an adult person. And when I became an adult person, it turned out that math is actually amazing because it describes a real life. It's actually the best thing to deal with. Once you understand the problem, it lets you understand the problem better, but you do have to have an idea of the problem that you are dealing with. And numbers will never tell you anything unless you want to get something from them. So the last, 15 years of my life, I've been very heavy in math, very heavy in statistics, very heavy in like some really interesting and in-depth ways of doing data analysis. And my background as of today is marketing, which I've been doing for almost 20 years. data, and human psychology. And the three allow for a really interesting, like, we all know that unusual in-depth knowledge happens on overlaps. And so thanks to the overlap of data marketing and human psychology, I was able to be doing some really unusual work. In my first Silicon Valley engagement, which was 2014 and which was Adobe. And I joined Adobe to start doing user retention strategies on the business with millions of paying users. And again, we are in a very young industry right now. Adobe, Google, and many other SaaS companies are already dealing with problems that are scale related and that we have actually not seen on our side yet, but they will of course come. And so in Adobe, I was tasked with figuring out efficient user retention strategies. And they definitely knew that I have to be very realistic in terms of ideas that I will come up with, and to be realistic with the ideas, I have to understand better which problems I'm solving. So, but before I joined Adobe, I happened to be in an internship. And I happened to work in this, and that's like the most impactful, like I think that internship had a massive impact on my life, exactly because I was hanging out a lot with some data analysts. And those data analyst guys, they were working with a magical tool, which looked like they are building, I don't know, like path to Mars, like something unbelievable. So the tool, of course, was Adobe. And anytime I was walking by their, those were two guys. And anytime I was walking by their desks, I could see those huge screens. And on the huge screens, they were working with some unbelievable charts. It was cities, it was penetration, it was competitive positioning, and it was visualized and understandable. And they were doing it so fast. They were moving around fields to kind of look at the data, look at the story at a new angle, and everything was happening like at the speed which I couldn't even imagine. And I was like, what is that tool? And the dude said that the tool is Tableau, like this fancy, like French sounding data analytics tool. It's like super complex and it's like really hard to learn. We don't know if you'll ever be able to figure it out. And of course, it was very interesting to figure that thing out. And so at some point I had a weekend and I got myself in front of a laptop and I was like, okay, so I have a weekend and I'm about to start my job at Adobe. And I clearly nothing will make me as powerful, as impactful, not impactful, as ability to work with data well, and ability to work with data easy, and also ability to make my data insights easily understandable by other people. Because it's one thing to do good analysis, and it's a very different thing to make that good analysis understandable by other people fast. As attention is attention is very scarce in modern world. You'd only have a couple of seconds to communicate an idea to a person. If you haven't done so, the person will just decide that the idea is not good, right? We all have been there. So I got myself in front of a laptop and I decided to figure out if it's possible at all for me to learn Tableau.
Also, these two guys had thrown a challenge, and in your mind, oh, challenge accepted, let's go, right?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, it was like, no, if they have figured it out, maybe it's doable. Maybe I actually can do it too. And so it turned out that Tableau has unbelievably good learning materials. So Tableau, as of today, Tableau is very good. They have, it's like very big, really significant, has insane penetration into big organizations. And it has, on one hand, it has a really good go-to-market story and how they actually took over the corporate world and got data scientists and big companies to love it and to use it. That's a separate story. And that is a separate story, which is phenomenally good self-learning tools on Tableau website. So what I did, I went into Tableau website and I started trying to figure out how to teach myself Tableau. So it turns out that they figured out a flow which lets you do exploration of an actual data set that you can download, and at the same time to take classes on what kind of exploration you should be aiming to do. So so I'm sure the data set is still there. I'm sure it won't take anybody more than a weekend to teach yourself the basics, but it will take, like, if anybody will want to try it, be ready that it will take not a couple hours a weekend. It will take like the entire weekend. It's like, it's work, but it's very much worth it. So what you need to do, you need to go and find the Superstore data set and the Superstore classes. And so the step-by-step Tableau team walks you through everything from like how to look at the data and how to understand it within Tableau, how to create very basic views, how to go beyond basic views, how to create interesting filters within Tableau, how to bring in more dimensions, how to start looking for like interesting story, how to start looking for a problem and how to dig in. And all of that, it is work. It's not extremely obvious, it is work. But this work is very much, first of all, doable, and second, is very rewarding. So I do remember, like, at times feeling like a total idiot, trying to just replicate what was just done within like seconds, just trying to replicate, trying to find how to like perform certain tasks. But the results are just really impressive. So first of all, I was able to figure out the Superstore story. I still remember the problem that we were like driven to solve. We won't spoil it for you guys. Like, open the Superstore data set, start looking for why profitability is lagging, figure it out for yourself. But once I joined Adobe, the very fact that I was fast at building views that are understandable by other people made it easy for me to communicate unusual ideas to like people who managed the whole business department that I worked for, and to convince them to try unusual approaches to doing user retention. And till today, my strategies that were built thanks to ability to work with data in Tableau. So my strategies retain over $100 million in annual revenue for Adobe. So it's a very significant impact. And like, but for Tableau and good data-based storytelling, none of that would have been possible. But for ability to self-service data, none of that would have been possible. So that's the story, and just the best tools ever for self-learning on Tableau website. I think that even in this aspect, we in our favorite crypto industry have a lot to learn from Tableau.
So in all transparency, this is actually take 2 of our podcast because we had technical issues, a bunch of issues with the first thing. And I showed a raw footage of our first podcast recording to some of the data scientists on the Covalent team. And literally their message is, I am so fired up after watching this video. And so what we've done is we've gotten a team license on the Covalent side. And then that's when I realized that what Jenia is sharing should get a broader distribution. There should be more people out there. We work in the data industry, not just in crypto, but in all of fintech. And I think more and more people should be able to access the data because all blockchain data is public. In theory, everyone should be able to do this. So this is what we're trying to capture with Genia's story. It was definitely inspirational to me. It was inspirational to people on our team. And when this video goes out, I hope another 100, 500,000, 10,000 people are inspired to go in, dig in, and understand and tell interesting stories with blockchain data.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, love it.
Okay, so yeah, I think that is it for part 1. Do you want to continue on with something else, like how we'll cut this portion, of course, in the editing?
So let me just show to people who are watching this. Okay. Let me show some of the tricks regarding how to use Tableau and how to be very successful, and why I like it so much. So I will go back into my Tableau screen. Probably everybody can see it now. And so with the Tableau, you guys, the reason everybody should love and use the tool is that everything is drag and drop. And you do, once you understand the data structure, which you have to do with whatever that you are working. Once you understand the data structure, it's very easy to do the analysis. So first of all, if I want to do colors, I drag and drop. If I want to do sizes, I drag and drop. So it's very, you need to understand your data set. You need to understand the overall, what kind of story do you want to tell? And once you do this, it's easy. So this particular chart, it tells the decentralization of SKALE Network at the moment of token launch story. As a token launch, we launched with almost 50 validator orgs, which represented the top validators from around the world. We represent with almost 150 nodes and with 4,000 delegators from all over the world. So here is the chart that will also tell the story. And so the next chart that I also loved building. So again, we had a data snapshot. This is not the live data set. This is a snapshot. The other chart that, again, because it's so easy to work with the data, right? It's drag and drop. Because it's so easy to work with the data. So this view allows me to visualize the volume of delegations from the 4,000 delegators. Over time, people had about like 3 or 4 days to delegate. And so this one allows me to visualize the volume of how fast the delegations were coming in. And so the main idea of this chart is that majority of delegations came in 60%. With the like very fast after the delegation opportunity became open. So just it was very impressive to see that so many people go in to support the network and secure it. So it's very, you understand your business, you understand data, everything in Tableau is drag and drop. It's just a phenomenal tool. And what else? Oh yeah, and Ganesh mentioned the color scheme. So all color schemes, all color palettes are customizable in Tableau. I wouldn't have been able to figure this out. We have an amazing engineer who is a data engineer, and her name is Ebru Ingwal, who is a like worldwide celebrity, I think, as of now.
She's a Turkish superstar. That's how I like to call it.
Turkish superstar. So Ebru is the one who helped me figure out how to do this. I was like trying to like figure it out, was torturing my poor Tableau. And she helped me figure out how to get it all fine-tuned. So it also now, it looks, all our charts of all our visualizations look native to SKALE brand. So this is actually what I wanted to show. So it's drag and drop, customizable. And oh yeah, and there is this another really cool feature. You will be able to explain data, view data. So at whatever full data. So at any data element you're looking at, you will be able to get an in-depth view of underlying data. And very often that matters. Or very often you will be able to build a view that summarizes, that brings together onto one dashboard several different charts. And then you set up any of those charts as a filter. And then to select a particular element and then look at the details of, like just automatically with no extra work, to see how exactly the data within that segment performs across other views. So super insightful, super interesting, really easy to tell the story. So highly recommend. Tableau is just nearly a religion.
Very, very cool. Exciting stuff. So one question I have is, how do you pick the right chart to put against a story? Like, are you starting with the end goal and then building up the data to support that story, or you're just going in and exploring what the data has to say, and then you say, oh, this is an interesting angle? Like, is it like top down, or is it like bottoms up? Like, what is your approach?
So I think it's kind of both. You do need to have some ideas of what you want to build it. But also when you are visualizing, you start understanding what the data kind of tells it to you. But you have to start doing drag and drop, and you have to know your data structure to work with correct fields. So that's for sure. And in terms of being able to tell a good story with data, there is a phenomenal book that's called the back of the napkin. I'm happy to be lucky to be Russian. Back of the napkin has a very good translation to Russian. I honestly think it's better than the original. But back of just highly, you guys, probably not everybody speaks Russian. Most probably you guys will have to read it in English original. So find it, back of the napkin. You will be a little bit skeptical of some of the ideas, but overall it explains how human brain perceives information visually. What is the path from how people see stuff into how they start understanding it and become capable of explaining that to other people? And also it categorizes charts by type. Which chart is best for telling the story of which type? And it kind of makes it very simple. So really good book, definitely couple evenings read. But it should be very helpful, in exactly answering that question, Ganesh.
Awesome. We'll definitely have a link to the book, and then people can check it out.
Very good. Yeah, and I can send you the link.
Okay, great. So in part 2, what are we going to do in part 2? We're going to have someone else from our team, and we're going to have a Tableau powwow, which is a sharing of tips. I think most likely it's going to be a teacher-student kind of session where we have Jenia, who's our resident Tableau expert, with someone else on our team who's trying to level up their skills. So I think that would be part 2 on exactly how she probably built those charts. That would be a good part 2, I think, a session 2. What do you think?
Yeah, happy to do that.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll schedule that at some point, and then I think we've captured what we wanted in this thing. So so generally we ask our audience to give a double thumbs up if they like the session. So double thumbs up to you, Jenia. Amazing session. I think we'll have at least a few hundred people who are inspired by a story and start getting their hands dirty with data.
Yeah, very good. So yes to thumbs up, totally thumb this up, guys. And with the Tableau, I forgot to say that they should have a free version, which is available to students, like free student subscription. And also they definitely have a trial. Everybody take the trial, figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Jenia, and very gracious of you to share your time, and looking forward to session 2.
Thank you so much for having me, Ganesh.